Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to cut through the noise and the BS on the Australian government's ridiculous move to ban under-16s from social media. On the surface, it's sold as a shield against the digital dragons of cyberbullying and mental health pitfalls, backed by heart-wrenching stories from parents and a parliamentary inquiry that painted a grim picture. But dig deeper and you'll see that this isn't just about safeguarding innocence. It's a classic case of government flexing their muscles where parents should lead, and likely paving the way for surveillance to creep even further into your lives and your homes. Yet history shows that these bans fizzle, kids VPN their way around, or worse, delve into the unregulated online shadows of the dark web. Stay tuned as we unpack the noble intent that might just be a fool's errand. So the Australian government's grand proclamation: no social media for the under-16 crowd, effective December 2025. It's wrapped in the noble banner of child protection, drawing from tales of tragedy that no one can ignore. Parents recounting horrific stories of how online predators and relentless bullying drove their kids to despair. The Online Safety Act 2024 passed amid heated debate and mandates platforms to bar the young ones or face multi-million-dollar fines. Yet I can't help but see this as less about genuine safety and more about power plays and political theatre.
Start with Anthony Albanese. He's revealed the one thing he'd ban, God forbid, if he ever became dictator.
If I could do something, maybe ban social media would be handy. Because
Why? What worries you about social media?
Look, keep in mind, this is the guy that absolutely could not stand it when people were doing memes of him. So much so that I put together a compilation of them.
a couple of things. One is keyboard warriors who can anonymously say anything at all without any fear.
It was kind of cut off there, but the wording is pretty telling. He's afraid that people can say things online without fearing for consequences of what they say online.
The sort of things that they would never say to you face to face.
Oh, fuck right off. So let's start with the facts. The law amends the Online Safety Act 2021, slapping a minimum age of 16 on platforms where interaction is king. Places like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, X, Reddit, and even YouTube now after a last-minute inclusion. I can honestly say that little lady Overlaw'd is absolutely devastated by that. Do you think it's right or wrong for the government to be telling us what we can and can't watch in our home?
That's wrong, because this is our home. This is more than a home. This is where we live. And this is where the government can't tell us where we can't and do. I think the government's wrong, and I think that we should be the government because he doesn't even care about us.
And so how do you feel about not being able to watch YouTube anymore? Does that make you angry?
Yes, because then other kids as well can't watch YouTube. And I want people to learn about YouTube. YouTube's going to be fun.
How'd it go? Very proud of you. Exemptions exist for messaging apps, go figure, and for gaming havens like Roblox and educational tools. But apparently chatting in Fortnite is harmless, while scrolling Instagram is a gateway to doom. The eSafety Commissioner, our digital watchdog since 2015, gets the enforcement gig guiding what reasonable steps mean for age checks. No mandatory ID uploads, they assure us. Oh, fuck right off. But trials are humming along for biometrics or behavioural cues, even suggesting that they'll use AI to crawl all over our social media pages to determine A, if we're Australian, and B, if we're over 16. Platforms allegedly can't repurpose that data, but the whole setup screams potential for mission creep to me. Similar agendas are being pursued internationally. In the United States, the Kids Online Safety Act, reintroduced in May 2025, remains in the early legislative stages, aiming at imposing a duty of care on social media platforms to protect minors by providing options to disable addictive features, limit screen time, and safeguard personal information, rather than an outright banning process. Meanwhile, the UK's Online Safety Act 2023 came into full force on the 25th of July this year, mandating platforms conduct child risk assessments, filter harmful content, and implement highly effective age verification to restrict underage access to inappropriate material. It's enforced by Ofcom with a focus on proactive safety measures rather than age-specific prohibitions on entire platforms. What a crock of shit. Now, I'm going to call BS there because since that came into effect a few days ago, we've seen all manner of platforms restricted, including things like Spotify, Discord, any number of things. In comparison, Australia's under-16 social media ban, set to take effect in December of 25, adopts a more stringent approach by requiring platforms like TikTok and Instagram to prevent account creation for those under 16 altogether, placing the burden solely on the companies with hefty fines for non-compliance, which critics argue represents greater government overreach and potential surveillance risks than a duty of care framework that is included in the US and the UK that emphasise tailored protections and parental tools rather than blanket exclusions. So, to start off, let's talk about the government's stunning backflip on YouTube, shall we? Initially, they painted it as a beacon of educational virtue, exempting it from the under-16 social media ban because apparently watching cat videos counts as homework. But come July 2025, poof! Exemptions scrapped on the recommendation of Karen Julie Inman Grant, and now YouTube is lumped with the rest of the digital rogues gallery like TikTok and Instagram.
Following advice from the E-Safety Commissioner, young people under the age of 16 will not be able to have accounts on YouTube.
Oh, fuck right off.
Well, I don't make determinations or write recommendations to the minister based on whether I keep the public on side. I follow the evidence.
What a crock of shit.
Well, Labor and Grant repeatedly refused to show us that evidence.
Is anyone really shocked by that?
So we lodged a Freedom of Information request, and sure enough, last night the research was released.
Should clarify, this is separate to the transparency report that was released in February.
And what do you know? Grant's main argument about these dangerous rabbit holes and algorithms was not even mentioned in the research.
What?
And even worse, the research is just a survey.
Yeah, that's right. The totality of the evidence underpinning this age verification nonsense is a survey of a total of 1,504 children, of whom 1,049 were aged 8 to 12 and 455 were aged 13 to 15. Now, given that Australia has a population of children of roughly 1.596 million kids, I don't personally feel like that is properly representative. So what did the survey actually have to say? Well, children were asked if they had used social media services since January 2024, in which they included Discord, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitch, or YouTube. They were also asked whether or not they held their own profile or an account on the service that they used, and whether they used those services without an account or used someone else's account. They were also asked whether someone had helped them set up their accounts, and if so, who, and they were asked if their parents or carers knew about their social media accounts. You know, all I'm saying is that if 77% of the kids surveyed had help setting up their own accounts by their parents or carers, maybe that's because parents and carers believe that it's okay for them to be on these platforms, particularly when the kids report that 84% of their parents/carers know about all of their accounts. They were also asked if any account of theirs had been shut down by a service in 2024 for being under the minimum age.
This entire thing is simply Grant asking children what they think they might have seen which is harmful.
The transparency report related to this survey, released in February of 2025 and uploaded onto the E-Safety Commissioner website, mentions harmful content a grand total of 5 times in a 99-page report.
You serious?
It is a very flawed way to do this, and do you know who agrees with me?
The fucking authors of the report, who actually put qualifications on it to say that it should not necessarily be relied upon in the way that it is.
They wrote, the findings from this research are reliant on cross-sectional self-reported data.
What a crock of shit.
This means that the data are based on children's and parent/caregivers' experiences and perceptions.
Because there's nothing like the subjective views of kids aged 8 to 12 to provide rock-solid evidence,
as they have shared them with us at one point in time, rather than being based on independent observation or assessment. So let's have a look at those figures. Grant's own research shows that while the number of children on Snapchat who claimed they were groomed was a disgusting 23%, the number reported on YouTube was 3%. The exact same rate of grooming in text messages.
And let's be very clear, 23% of kids claiming that they're being groomed online is horrific. But we're talking about Snapchat, an app that I personally don't believe kids should be on anyway.
Sexual harassment on Snapchat, 35%. YouTube again, 3%.
I mean, again, 35%, that's horrific. I mean, to be fair, my understanding was always that, you know, grown-ass adults were using Snapchat mostly to sext and stuff. So, I mean, I've never really used it.
And all other major platforms are significantly higher than YouTube on those 2 points.
That's because by design, YouTube is not an interaction platform. Unless you're a streamer, which I do think is a separate kettle of fish to just logging in and watching videos, it's literally something where you leave a comment on a video. It's no different, as far as I'm concerned, to giving the kid the controller and letting them pick something to watch on Netflix. It's a range of videos. You are not interacting with the content. It is not social media. And it is up to the parents to decide what their kids do and don't watch. It's really freaking straightforward, in my opinion.
Your kids are also less likely to be bullied on YouTube than any other major platform. And guess what the percentage was? That's right, again, it was 3%.
Again, I'm struggling to understand how a kid could be bullied on YouTube. Unless other kids are uploading videos or diss tracks or something like that. I don't understand that. I mean, how do you bully someone in the comments section? And you can just block people as well. Can someone make sense of that one for me, please?
You are nearly twice as likely to have your kids bullied through text messages than you are by letting them watch videos on YouTube.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, because text messages are direct interaction with other people. The E-Safety Commissioner recommended this U-turn after surveys revealed that nearly 40% of kids encounter harmful content there. But firstly, those surveys, in my opinion, were deeply flawed and are highly suspect, with their results being used to prop up the Commission's determinations. And secondly, without an account, young users lose access to supervised parental controls and safety features that actually mitigate risks. They are also arguably exposed to more danger, as the videos on the YouTube homepage are randomized, possibly with news and current affairs, or even a music video with some chick twerking in a thong. Let's do a search on YouTube in a fresh private Brave browser tab. No history, no login. Let's have a look. Okay, type in music. Let's see what pops up. Scroll down. Nothing innocuous. Oh, and there we go. Boom.
Take off all my makeup, 'cause I love what's under it.
Yeah, no harmful content there whatsoever, huh? Tell you what, in any event, it's still not something that I want my 6-year-old seeing. And I'm willing to bet that if I was logged in with the account that I'd carefully curated for her, I would not have seen that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go bleach my eyes. Now look, just quickly, if you made it this far, I kind of feel like I've already earned the like on the video. It's more important these days than you subscribing, but hey, feel free to do both if you want, or even leave a comment if you're feeling bold. At least when they have accounts, there is a searchable history for parents to review, and the algorithm presents similar videos to those watched in the past. I mean, as a result of this, a 6-year-old could go from watching Peppa Pig or Bluey to being recommended Cardi B singing about her wet-ass pussy, or the conflict in the Middle East. I mean, sure, I want less Peppa Pig in my house, but this is not the way to go about it. In my personal opinion, this isn't about protecting innocence. It never was. It's a combination of government overreach, forcing over 16s to verify their identity and tie their actions online to their real life, as well as reactive political scrambling, potentially creating more chaos than it solves, as experts warn that it could drive kids to riskier, unmonitored corners of the web. Imagine building a fortress to keep out wolves only to lock the sheep in with them. It's a brilliant strategy there, folks. Now, onto the slippery slope of surveillance creep. Damn it, there's that slippery slope argument that I keep trying to avoid. This ban isn't just a kiddie gate, it's a Trojan horse for digital IDs that can track us all like tagged wildlife. The legislation demands age verification through biometrics or behavioural signals. No government ID mandated, they swear, but the critics are howling that this just normalises data hoarding and paves the way for broader internet control. In parliamentary debates, links have been drawn to mandatory ID for users for all ages, morphing child safety into a surveillance state appetizer.
The crux to this is, what this will mean is that every Australian will be locked out of their Google account, their Yahoo account, their Microsoft account until they verify their age, which I think is quite incredible. I think it's unbelievable, actually. How does a big tech company actually identify you and confirm your age? Well, it does that by simply confirming your identity. And it means this is not just targeted at children, it's going to be targeted at everyone. You can't identify who is 16 and over unless you identify everybody. And that's what this is about. Let's be very clear about it. That's what this has always been about.
If the goal was purely about protecting kids, why extend age checks to search engines too? That's right, people, you're going to have to prove your age to be able to use things like Google or Yahoo to search your next cat video. It's like handing the government a skeleton key to your digital diary, all under the guise of shielding the young. Next stop, we're going to be using retina scans just to look at memes. Not to mention all the issues that there have been with data breaches and hacking over the last 2 years. The Officer of the Australian Information Commissioner website estimates that there have been around 5,500 data breaches in the last 5 years. 20 or so of the really big ones, including places like Medibank, Optus and Telstra, our two biggest telephone companies, have been hit in the last 2 years. In addition, there's been Qantas, Ticketek, hell, even JB Hi-Fi and Vic Roads. I'm still pissy about the fact that I had to get yet another new license, because my old one is about to expire again. Why would I want to give yet more companies my identity and the ability to track what I do? I mean, God, if they're that desperate to find out what movies the missus and I are watching at 2 a.m, I will just give them a list for fuck's sake. In my opinion, the E-Safety Commissioner's credibility, or lack thereof, deserves a spotlight here too, especially with Julian Inman-Grant at the helm. Originally established as the Office of Children's E-Safety Commissioner on the 1st of July 2015 under the then Conservative Party Liberal government, is an agency that started 10 years ago with a relatively small staff and a budget of about $10 million. Now, 10 years later, they have about 170 staff and an estimated budget of $56.5 million for the 2025-26 year. So to me, in my opinion, it looks like Julie really has to work hard at justifying that government expenditure. In a number of articles, it stated that her media releases selectively highlighted risks without balanced context, fueling distorted narratives. This isn't just sloppy in my opinion, it's allegedly strategic, eroding trust in the very office enforcing the ban. I mean, picture a watchdog barking at some shadows in order to get a longer leash. It's clever, but hardly reassuring for policy built on such shaky ground. And look, this is important for both sides of the political spectrum. There is a disproportionate hammer blow on vulnerable groups, which is where the ban really reveals its blunt cruelty. Think those that are feeling marginalised, the farmers struggling to tell the government to get fucked, the everyday Aussies that aren't being heard, members of the LGBTQ community and migrant youth already navigating a world that marginalises them, now potentially cut off from lifelines. Research has highlighted how people, and especially youth in Australia, rely on social media for specific support networks that boost their well-being, with platforms offering spaces absent in real life. As someone that has recently been dealing with something traumatic, I can honestly say that social media has very much helped me keep sane as well as getting information out of the public, but also if only to feel like someone is listening. Because the government sure as hell isn't, the medical system is so backed up it'll be months before there's any mental health support available, and although helpful, referral services like Beyond Blue are not ongoing support for those going through a crisis. Advocates are also warning that a blanket ban could amplify feelings of isolation, violating UN rights to expression and information, as 97% of those teens use online communities for essential connections. For migrants, it's a portal to cultural ties and resources. Ban it and you strand them further. In my opinion, this is just virtue signalling, purporting to protect kids by harming others more at risk, or just taking away general freedom of speech. It's like banning libraries to stop paper cuts whilst ignoring those that are illiterate. And let's not overlook the ugly economic underbelly here. This ban smells like a revenue racket disguised as altruism, with fines of up to $50 million slapped on platforms for non-compliance, per breach of non-compliance. The government's already threatened tech giants with penalties equaling 5% of their global revenue for spreading misinformation, layering on further financial thumbscrews. This will only cause tech companies to withdraw from the Australian space. Big tech like Meta and Google are already threatening lawsuits and oppose all of this precisely because it shifts all the enforcement costs and fines to them, while parents and kids face zero repercussions for bypassing the rules. In my opinion, it's a classic cash grab, funneling potentially millions into the coffers under the child safety banner, much like fining car makers for underage drivers instead of teaching road rules. Why else ignore the root cause if not to milk the system? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that parents should be on the hook for this. I'm saying that the government has no place whatsoever dictating to parents.
Anyone else sick of this fucking parasite telling us what we can and can't do? I'm not going to let this clown tell me what I can and can't do with my kids. No, if my kid wants to go on YouTube, he can, with my permission, not yours. You've got no right governing my kids.
When it comes to child rearing, the government is majorly overstepping its boundaries here when it presumes to dictate how parents manage their kids' activities within the sanctity of their own homes. Supporters of these kinds of measures claim that they're shielding kids from online harms, but this authoritarian approach undermines parental responsibility and individual freedoms, assuming that bureaucrats know better than families about what's best for their children. I mean, parents are in the best position to know their kids' needs, to steer their behaviour and keep an eye on what they're doing online. Things like parental controls on devices, content filters, and honest family talks are far better ways to create safe online worlds for their children and to take an active role in guiding their lives online. I mean, this isn't about neglecting child safety. This is about preserving the fundamental right of families to make their own decisions without Big Brother peering over their shoulder. I mean, I know certain segments of society want to destroy the family unit, but are we really just going to stand by while they speedrun it?
Gay!
Ultimately, when governments insert themselves into home life under the guise of protection, they risk creating a slippery slope. There's that slippery damn slope I keep trying to avoid. But it is a slippery slope towards broader control, prioritising political optics over empowering parents to raise resilient, informed kids. But let's talk about the ban's Achilles heel, which is its inevitable bypass. Kids will VPN their way around it like digital Houdinis, and when, not if, they attempt to ban VPNs here in Australia, it will not be something that they're able to police. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Starlink alone has been an issue for Albanese's reign of terror, let alone if they try to tell old Elon to censor what paying customers can use his service for. And then we have the potential to set up a next generation to fail. Australia's policy risks stifling digital literacy, churning out 16-year-olds unprepared for the online worlds. It's like banning swimming pools to prevent drowning, only to watch everyone jump into the ocean. Why bulldoze with a ban when there are smarter paths like a statutory duty of care for platforms that would be much more appropriate? The Australian Human Rights Commission advocates imposing legal obligations on companies to design safer products proactively, preventing harms at the source rather than reacting with age gates, and that to me is infinitely more reasonable. Furthermore, bolstering digital literacy in schools, teaching kids to navigate the pitfalls, empowers rather than isolates. Which, to be fair, I suppose is not really what the government wants, but now, public sentiment as of July 2025 is a mixed bag of applause and eye rolls, with Albanese admitting that the ban is not going to be simple amid unanswered enforcement riddles. Discussions are bubbling with skepticism, with experts dubbing it ineffective theatre. Yet survey polls show lingering support, generally tied to mental health fears. In my opinion, it's election posturing unravelling, as the YouTube inclusion sparks fresh backlash, proving the policy's more divisive than decisive. And the evidence supporting the ban, I mean, it's pretty mixed at best in my opinion. There's studies that link heavy use to poorer life satisfaction, disrupted sleep, and developmental hiccups. A 2024 inquiry heard gut-wrenching stories, including about a teen self-yeeting after a sextortion scandal, and another groomed by a predator posing as another young kid, which, don't get me wrong, are horrific, but I do not believe that this ban is going to solve those problems. The eSafety Commissioner's own surveys show exposure to harm on YouTube for nearly 40% of kids, which again, in my opinion, is skewed and wildly inaccurate, but the ban still lets them watch videos as long as they are not logged into an account. I mean, make it make sense. If safety were paramount, why not mandate safer designs via a duty of care? Or bolster digital literacy in schools? No, instead we get a blunt instrument that undermines parental authority. No consent exemptions here, folks. The state apparently knows best. But anyway, back to the ban. It's untenable and it will not work in my opinion. History is littered with failed bans. History is littered with failed bans. Kids are tech savvy. They'll lie about their ages. They'll flock to the dark web alternatives, or they'll use unregulated sites where harms are multiplied unchecked. The eSafety boss herself gave the analogy that it is not to fence the ocean, but to teach swimming instead. Yet here we are, fencing the digital sea, potentially hurting young kids into even murkier waters. Critics are dubbing it about as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike, and they're spot on. Enforcement will be a nightmare, and I foresee down the track that after changes are made, which my understanding is that they can be made at any time without parliamentary approval, just another unelected bureaucrat making a decision and checking a box, someone somewhere is going to get arrested for saying something online. Actually, now that I think about it, I really should show Lady Overlaw'd how to set up a GoFundMe just in case it's me. But anyway, age verification also means data hoarding, risking privacy breaches and normalizing surveillance. Some sources, myself included, claim that it's a backdoor to digital ID, forcing all users, including adults, to prove themselves and eroding anonymity and free speech. Elon himself on X called it a backdoor to controlling internet access for all Australians, and given his stake, that's telling. Allegedly, this could strain US-Australian ties as well, but more importantly, it sets a precedent for the government gatekeeping online discourse. Imagine if we applied this logic elsewhere, banning all cars for under-16s by ID checking every driver and putting fines on the manufacturers. It's pretty absurd when you think about it. Platforms already have 13+ rules that are flouted daily. This law ignores that, opting for spectacle over substance. Even supporters of the Act admit to positives like connection and learning, yet the ban steamrolls over all of them. And in my personal opinion, it's just grandstanding. You need to protect kids by teaching resilience, not by bubble wrapping the web. This ban masquerades as salvation but exposes deeper flaws. Overreach, inefficiency, and more than a strong whiff of control. Platforms bear the burden and kids get pushed elsewhere. Let's be fair, true safety requires nuance, not nukes. If it crumbles, we'll see more unregulated chaos, or hopefully some Aussies not bowing to government overreach. For now, it's a lesson in how good intentions will pave a road to a digital dystopia. If you've made it this far, definitely hit the sub button for more unfiltered takes, hit that bell, and don't let the algorithm bury me. And as always, I'll catch you on the flip side, legends. Peace out.